On the night of December 24, 1945, the Sodder family's Fayetteville, West Virginia home was brimming with joy. 10 children, ranging from young adults to toddlers, filled the home with laughter, excitement, and anticipation for Christmas morning. For George and Jennie Sodder, the hardworking parents who had built a life for their large family, this was a moment of comfort and happiness. But in just a few hours, their lives would be torn apart by an unthinkable tragedy that would spark questions, conspiracy theories, and heartbreak for decades. As night fell and the younger children grew tired, Jennie tucked them into bed upstairs. The older ones stayed up a bit longer, enjoying the warm glow of the family's Christmas tree. By midnight, the house was silent, and the family was asleep. But at 1 a.m., Jennie woke up to a loud, sharp noise on the roof. At first, she thought it was something simple, a branch falling or a neighbor throwing a rock. But moments later, she realized that the house was filling with smoke. Panic set in. The flames spread rapidly, consuming the wooden house with a terrifying ferocity. George and Jennie acted quickly, rushing to wake as many of their children as possible. 4 of them managed to escape alongside their parents, but 5 of the children, Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jennie, 8, and Betty, 5, were missing. George attempted to re-enter the burning home to save them, but the flames were overwhelming. In desperation, he tried using a ladder to climb up to their bedroom window, only to discover that the ladder had mysteriously vanished. By the time the fire department arrived the next morning, the house had been reduced to ashes. The official conclusion was that the 5 missing children had perished in the fire. But there was one glaring problem. No remains were ever found. Not a single bone, tooth, or fragment was recovered from the debris. This detail defied logic. Even in the most intense fires, human bones are typically left behind. This was the first clue that something wasn't right, but it was far from the last. As the Sodders sifted through the aftermath, they began noticing a series of strange and unsettling details that cast doubt on the official explanation. For starters, the house's phone lines had been cut. This wasn't a result of the fire. Someone had deliberately severed them. Jennie also remembered the strange noise she'd heard on the roof before the fire started. Was it the sound of an object being thrown? A makeshift firebomb? Adding to the mystery, George's ladder, which was always kept in a specific spot by the house, was missing entirely. It was later found in a ditch some distance away. The family's trucks, which George planned to use to reach the upper windows, mysteriously wouldn't start. These vehicles had been in perfect working order the day before. The Sodders also began hearing whispers in the community. A local man admitted to cutting the phone line, but his explanation made little sense. He claimed he had mistaken it for a power line and wanted to prevent the fire from spreading. However, this didn't align with the timing of the events. Jennie, in particular, couldn't accept the idea that her children had burned to ash. She conducted her own experiments, burning animal bones in a wood stove to see if they would disintegrate. They didn't. In fact, forensic experts later confirmed that even in fires reaching temperatures of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, bones do not completely burn. This raised a chilling question. If the children didn't die in the fire, where were they? As days turned into weeks, the Sodders became increasingly convinced that their children had been kidnapped. Over the years, numerous sightings of the missing children were reported. One woman claimed she saw them in a car driving away from the scene of the fire. A hotel worker in Charleston, West Virginia, insisted she had seen 4 of the children with 2 unfamiliar adults just days after the fire. According to her, the adults spoke Italian and acted aggressively when she tried to interact with the children. Perhaps the most compelling evidence came in 1967, over 2 decades after the fire. Jennie received an envelope in the mail with no return address. Inside was a photograph of a young man in his 20s. On the back was a handwritten note. Louis Sodder. I love brother Frankie. Elil boys. A 90132 or 35 inches. The Sodders were convinced this was their missing son Louis, now grown up. They hired a private investigator to track down the sender, but he mysteriously disappeared and was never heard from again. What could have motivated someone to kidnap the Sodder children? One theory points to George's outspoken political views. As an immigrant from Italy, George was highly critical of Mussolini's regime, a stance that earned him enemies within the local Italian-American community. Could someone have targeted his family as revenge? There were even rumors of mafia involvement, with claims that the children were taken as part of a human trafficking ring. Others believe the fire was an elaborate cover-up. Perhaps the children were taken, and the fire was set to destroy evidence. This theory gained traction when a local bus driver reported seeing balls of fire being thrown onto the Sodder house's roof on the night of the fire. Was this the sound Jennie had heard just before the blaze? George and Jennie dedicated the rest of their lives to finding their children. They put up billboards along highways, offering a $10,000 reward for information. The signs featured photos of the 5 missing children and pleaded with the public for help. These billboards became a symbol of the Sodders' unyielding hope and determination. Despite their efforts, the mystery remained unsolved. George passed away in 1969, and Jennie followed in 1989. The remaining Sodder children continued to search for answers, but the case grew colder with each passing year. The story of the Sodder children has fascinated true crime enthusiasts for decades. It's a tale of heartbreak, resilience, and unanswered questions. Were the children taken as part of a sinister plot? Did they perish in the fire, with their remains somehow obliterated? Or is the truth something even stranger? While we may never know what truly happened, the Sodder family's unwavering search for the truth serves as a testament to the power of hope. Their story reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable loss, the human spirit refuses to give up.